to another episode of Psychic Diaries on veryparanormal.com. I'm Michael Lamport, the producer and narrator of the psychic show Rescue Mediums. And with me, as always, is the wonderful Jackie Dennison, who is the host of Rescue Mediums and the co-owner of Feathers Academy in Northwich, England. And today we are really, really wonderfully welcoming the incredible Liz Throp to our show. So we'll see what she has to say.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. You have no idea how excited I am to be here.
I think that's wonderful. If I may ask the first question, one of your focuses are on psychic kids. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Michael, I created a company specifically for children. So there's a website called psychickkidsunited.com. And this website's great for anybody who's, got a kid that is showing signs of either being medium or psychic, even healers and empaths. And one of the cool things about the site, Michael, is, anybody can go on it, and for free, there's lessons, and there's a quiz on there that, I recommend everybody take, even for the grown-ups. Because it's an incredible quiz to kind of help you understand where your skills are, where your strengths are in the different worlds, in the different realms of psychic mediumship.
So I understand, though, when you were very young as a child, not that you're not young now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that.
But you had some confusion about what was going on in your head.
So that's kind of why I created Psychic Kids United with my partner, Margaret Sample, because as a child, I had a lot of paranormal experiences. I saw things that I couldn't explain, scary things as a child. So, when doors are opening and there's nobody standing there, or you see people walking in the field that's like hundreds of miles away from anywhere, and then they disappear into the fog, and you run out to see if they're okay, and there's nobody there, and there's absolutely nowhere they could have gone. So like these were things like I couldn't understand as a child what I was seeing, and I just had like a radar for people not being truthful. So how parents will be, they'll try and convince their child this is the right thing to do. Like, you need to do this or you need to do that. But as a child, I knew they were just doing it. And I just had this profound awareness that this wasn't right. Or teachers would try and coerce you into doing things. You're like, no, this doesn't make sense to me. So I may have been I probably was one of those children that was a pain in the butt, right? Because I was constantly questioning everything. But there was a lot of confusion, and I never really fit in, Michael. That was one of the things I could see now looking back. I never really fit into a said group. I got along with everybody. So like, especially when high school kicked in, I never actually belonged to, one group. I always felt like I was different than everybody else. And I just assumed at the same time that everybody had the same awareness that I did. And it was a big awakening when I realized that they don't, that
right.
No,
so
you were different.
You didn't fit into a certain peer group.
That's right.
And, but the interesting thing, I think, about what you're doing with psychic kids is that a lot of kids don't realize that they have this ability, the same ability that you had, but they're just ignoring it.
Yes. Or they're being shamed by it, or they're being afraid of it. You know, a lot of parents, like, I think a lot of the awareness is more so for the parents, to be honest with you. I want the parents to know that this is actually like a superpower that your children are going to have, that this is and it's not so much about turning them into little clairvoyants on the street corner. It's not about that at all. It's about helping them to raise their awareness of their own lives, like to give them the gift of insight in their own lives. And that is so powerful, as we know, right?
I'm nodding the whole time. The whole time you're talking, Liz, I'm going, yeah. Because it resonates so much with me. Right. It really, really does. You know, when you were talking about feeling different as a child, and you didn't quite fit in, but got on with everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, you that could be me. That's, you know, and I'm sure there is a lot of people, well, there are a lot of people like us who have that same experience as a child, and that curiosity. And I didn't see spirit as clearly as you did.
No, I didn't see them, Jackie. I didn't see them. Well, the ones in the field I did see. That was a very clear older couple walking through the field in the fog, and it was weird. But most of them I didn't see. It was like doors opening and closing, things moving around the room, that kind of stuff that I was like, what is that? Like, how is this even possible?
Yeah.
So you don't believe they were hallucinations?
No.
They were.
No. They were, and they came out timely.
Yeah.
They came in timely manners. So like after my grandfather passed, which would have been my first real death experience as a child that I can remember. So like my grandmother passed away, but I didn't really have a strong connection to her. But when he passed away, there was a distance between us in the family. So my parents weren't talking to him. And so when, you know, obviously I didn't have any connection with him, but I grew up with the man, right? So it was very confusing, that in of itself. How do you feel when somebody that's died that you were told that you're not going to talk to anymore? You know, it was very weird. So when he passed away, he came through that evening, and I could feel his presence in the room. I knew it was him. I couldn't see him or hear him or anything, but I knew it was him. Like, Jackie, you can attest to that. It's like a weird, you can't explain it. You just know they're there. You know,
the knowing, just you just know.
The energy. Yeah. And that's really, you know, how we teach kids to recognize, you know, when somebody passes away that's close to us, they're in a physical form, but their essence is their energy. So that energy is something that you're always going to recognize, whether they're living or dead. You're going to always recognize that energy, and it's a beautiful thing. And so instead of being afraid of that, embracing it.
That energy is, just wondering if the energy that you're talking about, which I agree with entirely, but do you think it's part of our soul?
Oh, it's 100% our soul. 100%. I 100% agree with that. So it's like, I always explain it to the kids like this. You know, if I was to sit you in a room on a chair and blindfold you, put earplugs in your ears, and send your mom into the room without you knowing who it is, and then send a stranger into the room, and then say which one was your mom and which one was the stranger, you're going to know who it is. You just know energetically, because you recognize that energy. We have gotten so far away of paying attention to that energy because we use our eyes and we use our hearing, and we focus on those senses more than the sixth sense, right? So when we focus on that energy, you know, and to do an exercise, something similar to that, you'd be blown away yourself. Like, you just know, like, you can be standing in a room and someone can come up behind you and you know who it is. You know, like if you're living with people, you know who just walked up behind you. You're like, hello, honey, you know. It's like the child's coming up behind you. You just know. And so it's one of those things, we, as psychic mediums, we are highly in tune to that energy all the time. And so getting kids to be comfortable, because Jackie, I'm sure you can attest to this as well. Like, you feel like an electric surge. Like, it's like, you know, I get it, like it's like the chills go up your body. You feel
Yeah.
feel their presence immediately.
Yeah, it's that vibration, isn't it? You pick up on the vibration.
Yes.
It's like when you hear a musical instrument, you can sense the vibration of the musical instrument. So this is the same way. How old were you, Liz, when your grandfather passed away? How old were you?
So I was 9 when that happened, and then the next year my brother passed away. And so I had 2 back-to-back.
Yeah.
The first one, you know, where he had come through and moving objects and opening and shutting my bedroom door. And then my brother just happened to come into that, the room that night because he was having experiences downstairs. And I said, just stay in my room with me. And my sister came into the room as well. And we were all experiencing this. And my parents were in the next room and heard none of it, which was so strange, right? We're not strange now, we know why. But we made a pact then as little kids that, because my brother would have been 10, 11 at the time, and we made a pact then that if any of us died, that we would never do this to each other because it was very scary, and that, you know, whoever dies first won't bug the other. And then of course my brother passed away the following year, and it took me probably, I want to say 20 years before I was able to connect with him.
Well,
and it was
tell him.
Yeah, I know. I know. I was so angry. I'm like, why can't I connect to my brother? And then it was, I had that memory of that night. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. All I'd have to do is say, yeah, I take that back. I take it back. You can come. Yeah. But he's been around my grandchildren. Like, he's been there for them from their birth up till like, and still present for mostly for my grandson now, but he's still only 5. My granddaughter being 8, she's kind of moving away from it right now. You know, that they kind of go in fits and starts with it. They accept it, and then they kind of move away from it. Like it happens, right? You get really strong time frames where it's really intense for them, and then sometimes it's just like, I accept it, so it's not a big deal anymore. Yeah. But yeah, he's been. Now,
do you still try? Do you still not try? Do you still keep in contact with him?
Absolutely, yes. It's so funny, Michael, because my grandson Warren probably had the most has the most connection with him, and he will say often, we'll be driving in the car and he'll be like, "Oh, Emma, Bob's here." He calls him Bob. I called him Bobby. He calls him Bob. And I'm like, "Oh, is he? Like, where is he?" He's flying beside the car again. And I'm like, "Well, tell him to get in the car." And he's like, "No, he likes to fly, Emma." "Oh, he's sitting on the front of the car now." I'm like, "Okay." So like, I don't have the ability to see him, but he clearly sees him. Yeah. And then he'll come out with something profound about him. Like, "What's that pink toy he's carrying, Emma? What is that? Is that a cat?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, he was buried with a pink panther." So you remember the Pink Panther was all the rage back in the 80s, right? And he was fascinated with that. So he was buried with a stuffed Pink Panther. So how could my grandson know that, right? Yeah. So I know he's making a better connection to him than I am, but I just profoundly know that he's always beside me and supporting me, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. And I think it's absolutely wonderful. Yeah. And I think other people should think like you do, Liz, about people that are close to them that have passed, and just believe that they're still around you, and they're not going to desert you.
Oh no, right? Absolutely not.
Like we do as humans.
Yeah, exactly. They're always present. You just need to think of them, and they're there. You know, so like right now I'm talking about my brother, so I can feel his energy here. But I don't connect with him the way my grandchildren have, if that makes sense. But, yeah, but it's all good.
But that's what you're saying about psychic kids. I'm sorry, Jackie. Yeah, but that's what you're saying about psychic kids, is that maybe I don't know, but when you're a kid, your defenses are down and your aura opens up.
100%.
And I think as we grow up, we try to close down the aura, because, oh God, now it's too weird.
Well,
But I
it's
think
fear. Fear is the magical ingredient for both children, but children get fear from their parents, from their grown-ups. You know, parents will often go, "Oh, stop, you're creeping me out." Like, that's the worst thing you can say as a parent to a child like that. "Oh, you're freaking me out. Don't talk like that." Or they're real, like, they'll be like the Spanish Inquisition. "Tell me more, tell me more, tell me more." And the kids are like, "I don't want to talk about this like this." So you'll get kids that don't want to go to school because they're having profound experiences in school. We're seeing a lot of that right now. I had a 9-year-old boy just a month ago who, just the anxiety of, everything that's going on, but he's like, "I'm kind of really happy that this COVID thing is happening, that I have a choice now. I can learn from home because I don't have to see my teacher's dead husband every time I walk into the classroom. I don't have to talk to the little boy that died in the playground every day." Like, it's overwhelming. And as a child, I think back and I'm like, yeah, like, we really did kind of have to take on a lot, with all that extra stuff, right? So it's just kind of giving them the tools to accept first and foremost, and then understand how it can be utilized for their benefit.
Well, when you were very young, and I know this is going to sound awful, but just to quote the movie The Sixth Sense, did you see dead people?
Only the only experience of where I physically saw was in an old farmhouse in Guelph. We lived on an old farm in Guelph, and it was a very foggy morning, and we lived on Highway 6, but this was before Highway 6 was built up. So our nearest neighbor was, you couldn't even see the house. That's how far our neighbors were. So we were like smack dab in the middle of nowhere. I mean, bears used to come up to the house. Packs of dogs used to run free, and we'd play with them. I mean, we think about it now. Crazy that my parents let us do that, but we did. But that was back in the day when you'd like get out the door at 7 in the morning and don't come back until dinner, kind of thing, right? You can't do that now. But the adventures, right? So we were outside playing, and we saw this old couple walking, and that house was very haunted. I call it haunted, but it was just full of activity, right? So I was always very sensitive inside the house. So I wanted to be outside. I only was in the house when I had to sleep because it was so palatable. Like, you could feel them moving around. But this old couple was walking through a cornfield, and there was no, like, we were probably, I want to say 100 meters from the road. So like, that's quite a distance. So we're looking out at the road to see if there's a car, but where they're walking is towards woods, and there's nothing beyond those woods. Like, there was no roads. So we're like, "Hey, don't go that way. There's nothing over there. Come over here if you need help." And my brother saw them as well. My brother, who's now passed, saw them, and my father saw them as well. And the fog came in, a thick, like, plume of fog came in, and we started, like, at this point, we're walking towards them because they're an old couple walking very crookedly. And by the time we got to where they were, the fog had lifted and there was nobody around, and the fog had completely lifted to the point where there was no fog anywhere, and you could see for miles in every direction, and there was nobody there. So we were all kind of like, how did that just happen? But we all saw it.
Do you think, Liz, that was you actually seeing spirit, or do you think it was a time slip?
Yes. I think that's exactly what, at the time I didn't know what I saw.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think it was a time slip.
Yeah. I mean, you still see it spirit, whether it's a time slip or not,
yeah,
but it's
exactly.
But for all three of you to see it, and the way you've described it, to me, it's like you've gone into some sort of a time warp. Either they're a time slip, or you're a time slip in their time, which is quite a thing to think about. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's happened a lot to me. I don't know if it happens to you a lot, Jackie.
Yeah.
But but it's profound when it does happen. It's kind of exciting to me. Like you get a different kind of vibe or a different kind of energy, like you're seeing something that you shouldn't be seeing, or like a slip out of history. Like when I lived in the UK for a period of time, it is such a energetic place. The history there, the buildings, all of that. We don't have that here in Canada where I was raised. So being over there just elevated my senses to really, you could feel the Roman soldiers crossing, the hills where I lived, and you could sense the negative energy where there had been slaughters, or that kind of thing. And it was quite a journey for me. That's probably where everything really opened up when I moved over there. It really forced me to be.
When you talk about time slip, what is a time slip?
So I know a time slip as and Jackie, you by all means, put in your thoughts on this, but it's a moment in time where an event has happened, and it could have been, as I understand it, it could have been a profound moment, or it could have been an absolutely nothing moment, but the spirit energy, the people that, the stain of their energy is reliving an experience that they've had. And so this old couple who probably lived on the land that we were living on probably had to make a trek across this field on a regular basis, I'm assuming. And so we were just seeing exactly one of their events. So I don't know, like I think like Jackie, I don't think it was their spirits coming and making the walk across the thing. I think we were just experiencing an event that happened in their life.
Yeah, totally. And it could be anything that has created that, as you say. It could be that they were thinking a particular way at that time frame, and you have linked into thinking the same thoughts at that time frame. Or it was the exact time, the exact day when something memorable happened to them, that you happened to just be in the right spot at the right time to witness that. Yeah, fascinating. I love time slips. Yeah.
But in order to get a time slip, just for people that are watching this, is I believe you have to open your mind, right? You can't be closed. You've got to be like, oh, okay, there's two people walking across the field. I think that's bullshit. But your mind has to go like, no, this is real.
Yes.
We have to accept this time slip.
Yeah. A big part of, I think, anybody's spiritual journey is trust. Trust in what you're getting, and trust in your insight, and trust in your in yourself. I think that's a big challenge for everybody, just normally, but people who are psychic and mediums really have to succumb to the logic side of your brain, and and the fear side and the ego side of the brain. And we just have to succumb to that and go, okay, I can't explain it, but that's okay. That's okay. I don't know how I know that, and that's okay. That's okay.
Can I just go back to something you were talking about earlier on? And this is going back to the Psychic Kids.
Yes.
Because we're talking about fear and things like that, and we talked about the fear, and we're really frightened of things we don't understand, aren't we? So it's about getting to understand things, which is why I think it's really great. I don't teach anyone under the age of 18 unless we've got parental consent, and so and then we have the parents with us, and it depends on why that person wants to learn. What I think is absolutely wonderful about you, Liz, is the fact that you are taking the fear factor out of not only the children but the parents. You're educating the parents. I think that's brilliant that the children can, and the parents can join in together with that. What sort of age group do you start to teach from?
So I have anybody who's under the age of 4 and down, or 5 and down typically. I'm working with the parent only, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I'm working just primarily with the parent. And you know, one of the things that's really cool about Psychic Kids and what we've discovered, Margaret and I, is that a lot of these kids are coming and showing up now because their parents or their grown-ups need to step into their own light, and they've been ignoring their own insight for way too long. And these kids are like, yeah, you don't have any choice now. You have to address this. And so it's really cool that we're seeing not only the support for the kid, but for the parent or the guardian or grandparent, whoever's bringing them in, is really getting that, oh my gosh, I've always been so afraid of this, or I had so many experiences when I was a kid and I shut it off, and now they're being forced because they have to support this child, really step into their greatness. And it's so awesome. It's just so awesome that we're seeing that pattern evolve, because I didn't see that go down that path when I first created it, you know?
Yeah.
I thought we need to get the parents involved, but I had no idea how involved they were going to be.
Yeah, I think it's great because it's all about education, isn't it? About educating people, and that has to open up the spiritual. I'm sorry, we've got a little dog running around
No,
here.
please, that's fine.
There's another 3 somewhere. he just likes to be nosy. He likes to join in.
Of course, I'm no baby.
He's one of my little kids. So it's all about, you know, the education and taking the fear out. And I like the fact that you're talking to the parents of the 4 and 5 year olds, because I do that as you know as well. You know, people have got problems. They go, this is happening, and you have to rule out all everything that's happening practically first, because there are so many gifted children. All children have the ability of being able to communicate, as you know, and then we go to school, we have to learn practical stuff, and so that goes on a back burner. But these really, really special children, it can really affect them. I mean, they can be having nightmares and things like that, can't they?
That's usually the indicator. That's usually why they reach out to me, because of night terrors, you know. That's the number one challenge for most of these kids. So, you know, it is a big deal, but it's not. You know, if once we kind of get a handle on, you know, everybody, it's okay. Like when your child is gifted in a sport, you can send them to a sporting team and they can be trained under the guidance of a mentor there. If your kid is gifted in music, you're going to send them to a music teacher and they're going to, you know, be embracing that musical talent. But when they're psychic, there's nowhere you can call, right? Who are you going to call? Ghostbusters, right? Like, who are you going to call? So that's where, that was the profound dream that I had when I had the vision for Psychic Kids, that we needed a place for them to find, where they can all congregate together, connect with one another, you know, but learn along the way that there's nothing scary about this. This is amazing. This is like a superpower. You have children that have superpowers, and we need to tap into that for their lives.
I think that's amazing. And the fact that you're doing this and bringing people together, kids together like that, I think it's amazing, because it also gives them a place to be themselves and not to be some weird kid that goes like, oh, I have ghosts under my bed. But they just, you know, they actually talk to other kids about what they're feeling. I think that's absolutely astounding.
Yeah, and they fit in, which is something that you didn't, and nor I did.
Exactly it. That's your group now. You have a group.
Yeah. So do you find that the kids talk amongst themselves, or is there someone? Are you there sort of with the group as they're connected?
So to be honest with you, that's where I'd like to see it get to next year. Because we're in a different world where everything has to be policed and, you know, very vetted, and we have to be very careful about everything. We haven't done that portion of it. That's coming in 2021.
Yeah.
So we're working on something where they can collaborate online more so. I have put a couple of parents in touch with each other for support. And, you know, obviously I get permission from both, and a couple of kids together with their parents so that everybody gets a sounding board. But we're working on, and I think we've been kind of struggling with how do we make sure this is safe, you know? So that's why the delay is there. But it is coming. I trust that it's coming. I know it's going to be a safe environment because we've just thought of everything. Like there's nothing been left off the table with it.
Yeah.
So
That's great. That's great. Because I know when you're working with children, certainly here in England, you have to, or you're working with any sort of group that needs a support, so you're a support worker or whatever, you have to have like a background check with the police, and they have to make sure everything's done in the right way. And so I went through all of that. There is a name for it here, I forget what it is, but I've got my certificate anyway. But it's different when it's over the internet, because then you have to be absolutely 100% sure, and you're in control of that.
That's right.
So you have to, you know, you have to be careful. So it's great that you're looking into absolutely every option with that. Brilliant. I think it's absolutely terrific. It's somewhere for kids to feel normal. This is their normal.
Exactly.
It's not paranormal, it's normal.
It's normal. That's perfect. It's not paranormal, it's normal. That's brilliant.
Normal paranormal. That's what it is. It's normal paranormal.
I love that. Oh, I love that saying. I might use that, Jackie. I'm just saying.
It's normal paranormal. So you have a lot of different strings to your bow, I know. And you, I've been on one of your shows, The Gifted Ones.
Yes.
So tell us about The Gifted Ones.
So The Gifted Ones is, it's a program on YouTube through Giant TV, Niagara, that we interview amazing gifted people like yourself, Jackie. You know, so everybody viewing this will know Jackie is literally a mentor of mine. From when I first saw her on TV, you actually, and I said this on the show, you gave me permission to be okay with my gifts because you were so bold and brave. You were the first out there on TV, allowing people to see your vulnerability of, you know, this is who I am and it's okay. And so, yeah, you are like you're my hero. So it was really cool to get you to be on the show. And then, so I've interviewed people from all over the world on different things, different topics from A to Z. So it's really fun that way. You're going to get to learn about different topics. And then the other show I have is The Insiders with Liz and Amber. And that is, that's a different kind of show. And that one is like two psychic mediums just, you know, shooting the breeze. What's it like to be a fly on the wall with two psychic mediums? And we always bring a lesson in to each show. So you're going to learn something with each show, and we're now starting to do interviews with different people as well. So it's very exciting times right now.
Exciting times. And you are going to be part of veryparanormal.com as well, aren't you?
I'm so excited.
Yeah, and we are really, really thrilled about that. Absolutely thrilled that
Thank you.
You and Amber are going to be part of Very Paranormal.
So exciting. We're so pumped about it. I can't even tell you.
Yeah.
I just think it's great that you agreed to be interviewed, and you were so open with what you were saying. And I think that's amazing. I mean, a lot of people would like sort of keep it really down, but you don't.
No.
You're like, hey,
I think that's why we get on so well, Liz, because it's like what you see is what you get. And you know, if you ask me a question, I'm going to give you an answer. If you don't like the answer,
exactly.
It's the answer. That's my answer.
It is it's the truth, right?
Yeah.
That's like, that's what you taught me. Just be yourself, be true to who you are.
Yeah.
And once I got out of my own way of trying to be who I thought everybody needed me to be, that's when everything just shifted for me, like right across the board in relationships and career, and like really honing in on my skills and tapping into my spirituality. All boom, everything blew up at that moment. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm so glad. Oh, the dog obviously thinks that's a good thing as well. So this is one of the other ones. Very, very vocal. There's dog language going on here.
I love it.
No, it is great, and I think the fact that you can only be yourself, you know, that's all people should be. You shouldn't be, I don't know what they're saying is, you know, a second-rate copy of whatever. You shouldn't. You just be yourself, and you know, warts and all. That's who we are.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And isn't that what we expect from everybody else? Just authenticity.
Yeah.
So if we're expecting that from everybody else, you got to show up with that energy first.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we love your energy, and we're so pleased that you're going to be part of the Very Paranormal team.
Thank you.
And we will do this again a little bit down the line, and we can catch up and see how things are going for you then. And we've got the summit. We've got the
yes, the summit's coming up, which is so exciting.
Yeah.
That's going to be amazing with the lineup that we have of mediums. Then, you know, that's going to just be an incredible event. Very exciting.
Yeah, that's the 16th and 17th of October. And tickets are available online with, well, they can go to any of our Facebook pages.
Any of our Facebook pages, yeah.
Or Mary Ann Kennedy's page. To get the tickets for that. But yeah, a great lineup, as you say. I'm really looking forward to that. So, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again.
I know, me too. I am too. And Michael, thank you for producing that show. It was life altering for me. Thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you for saying that. And it was so, because of Jackie, it became such an easy show to produce with all the restrictions that we had and everything. Yeah. But thank you for saying that. That's really sweet.
No,
it's
thank
very,
you.
very kind. Very
life-changing.
Yeah.
All right,
okay,
God.
we shall love you and leave you for now, because I know you've got another show to do now. So
yes.
Mwah. Mwah.
Bye.
Okay, bye.